He's our next speaker. He's a champion for justice, using the power of law to make profound difference for families. Please welcome Curtis Morrison. Curtis is an accomplished immigration lawyer. He's the owner of Red Eagle Law, specializing in using federal courts to fight on behalf of immigrant families. He has a remarkable track record, winning injunctive relief against both the previous and the current administration on behalf of thousands. Now he's also a candidate for Congress in the 48th Congressional District. Continuing his fight on a larger stage, it's an honor to have him. Please give a warm welcome to Curtis Morrison.
Good morning. It's going to be difficult to follow those amazing speakers, okay? So, my name is Curtis Morrison. I'm an immigration attorney, like he said, based here in San Diego County. I'm here to talk about how and why Trump's immigration policies are fueling today's outrage and nationwide day of defiance, okay? Three things I want to talk about today. Threats to due process, mass deportation, and Trump's travel ban. It's important we understand these threats so we can fight them and talk about them, right? So, starting with the rule of law, due process, and habeas corpus. Due process and habeas corpus are both concepts that protect individual rights. Due process ensures fair legal proceedings, while habeas corpus, it focuses specifically on the legality of detention. When you are detained, habeas corpus is that tool that allows a lawyer to take you before a judge and say, let's determine whether this detention is lawful, okay? Habeas corpus can be seen as a safeguard within due process, ensuring that no one is held without a lawful reason. That used to be important. Thank you. We don't talk much about this, but due process and habeas corpus and the fair justice system are some of the foundations of what makes this country great. I have a lot of immigrant clients who already know the very hard way what it is like to live governed by a regime without these foundational norms that any democracy, in many cases, should have. It's what drives a lot of immigrants to come to the U.S. because we're so great, because we have these foundational norms. One thing I love about representing immigrants, especially in federal courts, is I get to explain to them our court system. I get to show them how our justice system works, how laws and rights work, how the rule of law works. And many come away impressed, okay? To them, it's what makes America great. I'll give you an example. Over the last 5 years, I've represented several thousand diversity visa lottery winners. These are immigrants located abroad in federal lawsuits that challenge unlawful State Department policies and practices. Usually we have success for some or more, but never all. What this means in practice is when our group lawsuits are over, I sometimes have clients who walk away with their path to immigrating to the U.S. ended. One might think that they would be bitter, they would hate America. Thank you. I need to speak up, I'm told. One might think that they may be bitter or hate America, but that's not what we see. That's not what happens. The most are grateful not only to our team, but to the courts for hearing them out. They came away respecting the USA and the way we do things even more, and that's important. To me, that's a testament to America's judicial system. And it underscores the importance of access to courts, judicial review of executive branch policies. That's another reason why efforts by the Trump administration to undermine our courts and our judicial system will do more harm to America. Republicans in Congress, like Representative Darrell Issa, who sponsored and passed the House the No Rogue Rulings Act, they are complicit in undermining the courts. They have their heads up Trump's ass. So, next, we all knew when Trump used the Alien Enemies Act to spirit away Venezuelan men to CCOT, the El Salvador prison complex. When we watched on the news, we knew, hey, that's not lawful. There's no due process, no access to habeas corpus. We're not at war with Venezuela. And anyone on U.S. soil, I mean, they deserve due process. So last week, Judge Boasberg in Washington held that the removal of over 130 Venezuelan men under the Alien Enemies Act on March 15th was unlawful. And he's ordered the Trump administration to provide those men access to habeas corpus relief. He's given the Trump administration a week to propose some reasonable way to do that. I want to believe that that is going to happen. It remains to be seen. I have an idea, though. Maybe Trump could send that Qatari jet to El Salvador and bring them back for their court hearings. It would probably be cheaper than the contractors, the inside contractors that they're currently charging us for this mass deportation scheme. As an aside, a chartered ICE flight can cost up to $26,000 per flight hour. And that's even if it's military, it's $25,000 per flight hour. So if Trump actually succeeded in carrying out this mass deportation of millions of immigrants, besides the way it would devastate our communities, it's also going to bankrupt the country. So we can't do that. So let's talk about what's happening now in immigration courts. First, immigration judges, for those of you that may not have been following this, they're not normal judges. They're not independent. They work for the Department of Justice. That's right, Pam Bondi. They work for Pam Bondi. So they're not part of the independent judiciary. Immigration judges have been instructed by DOJ, by Pam Bondi, to allow Department of Homeland Security lawyers to motion to dismiss immigration cases orally, and for the judges to dismiss the immigration cases quickly in the same hearing without due process. So this is a procedural trick. Instead of immigrants having a 10-day response time following the motion to dismiss that had been typical, immigrants in question can be put then in expedited removal proceedings. Now, this is not new. What is new is the way the Trump administration is applying expedited removal proceedings. For the last 30 years, that was only something that the administration could use if an immigrant was here within 14 days of their arrival. The Trump administration is using it for people who have been here up to 2 years and for people who entered lawfully using the Custom and Border Patrol Act, the Custom and Border Protection Act, the CBP app, okay? I'm sure many of you watch the news. So in San Diego, you may have seen on Thursday, this happened to an Afghan immigrant who worked for the United States military as a translator, one of our allies. He was granted parole at the border using the CBP app. The Trump administration hopes now they've done that procedural trick to deny him a stay in court and remove him to Afghanistan. I don't know what the end goal here is. If they move him back to Afghanistan, he's going to be tortured and killed. How's that going to make us safer? Is that going to make us safer? No, I didn't think so. So let's talk about mass deportations a little bit. Raids, operations, they're happening all over the USA. Just recently, on tip from 5 years ago, 20 masked ICE agents in military-style gear raided a South Park restaurant. They weren't there to round up hardened criminals. No. But restaurant workers. ICE even used flashbang grenades. Like, people are there trying to enjoy dinner, and here ICE shows up with flashbang grenades in a U.S. street in front of a U.S. restaurant. all this to detain 3 Mexican nationals, 1 from Colombia. Did that operation make anyone here feel safer? I didn't think so. I don't think so. Similarly, up in Oxnard on Tuesday, I showed up at 9 farms chasing farm workers through strawberry fields. I picked strawberries in high school for 1 day. It almost killed me. My back still hurts. I don't know if any of you have ever picked strawberries, but it's very hard work. And I honor the people that grow our food. So, important context here. California grows more than a third. California grows more than a third of the U.S. vegetables. Okay, so does anyone know a Trump supporter is willing to pick strawberries? By the way, I haven't seen that Facebook group. Seriously, if we cannot treat the people who grow our food with dignity and respect, we don't deserve to have their food. So I want to talk briefly about excessive force and militarization. So it wasn't necessary to nationalize the National Guard, the California National Guard in Los Angeles. Did it make anybody feel safer? No. It also was not legal. U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer in the Northern District in San Francisco ruled that the federal government did not have the authority to nationalize California's National Guard. So likewise, many of us here appreciate the U.S. military's role in keeping the nation safe. But nothing is happening in Los Angeles or California or here today that we need to be protected from, okay? We don't need the Marines to protect us from peaceful protesters, from free speech. We need the Marines, but we don't need them to protect them from ourselves. Finally, I want to say something about the travel ban Trump issued 10 days ago that went into effect Monday. This is the space I work in as an immigration attorney. In the last 2 years of Trump's first term, I did almost nothing but litigate lawsuits against the Trump administration on behalf of immigrant families whose lawful paths to immigrate in the U.S. were sabotaged by multiple travel bans. I mean, everybody knows about the Muslim ban, but during COVID, he used that as an excuse to basically do the most comprehensive shutting down of immigration to the U.S. in history, and kind of got away with it because it wasn't the #1 story. There's so much going on. So many immigration stories don't make it to the front page. I'm proud to say we had some success. We won multiple injunctions against the Trump administration on behalf of immigrant families. One thing about the Muslim ban is there was a waiver process available for most applicants. That's not the case with this ban. This ban's very much more cruel. With this travel ban, visas for spouses and minor children of green card holders from 12 different countries are suspended indefinitely. So if you know a green card holder and they look really depressed right now, it's because they may not see their spouse and child again, okay? That's devastating. I've had to have so many conversations in the last week helping people to understand what that means. They ask, well, will it change when the next president takes over? And I'm like, I don't know. It could be that crazy Vance guy, right? So, I mean, things look really dim for immigrant communities, not only the undocumented, but people here with green cards. Everybody's under attack. Usually these are young families. And there's no waiver exception for them. It doesn't make us safer. Does this make us safer? No. So with this travel ban, visas for fiancés of U.S. citizens from 12 different countries are completely suspended indefinitely. How does that make us safer? So many temporary workers, like H-1B workers, students, researchers from 12 different countries are in the U.S. just doing the thing that they told the U.S. that they were going to do. With this travel ban, they are now indefinitely separated from their spouses, their minor children. There's no waiver exception for them. Does that make us safer? No. Finally, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of employment-based visa applicants who are exceptional professionals in artificial intelligence. That's AI, okay? And and also other critical and emergency technology fields, many of them related to medical, like to curing cancer. These are the scientists and engineers and doctors and professors we need in the U.S. to compete in the 21st century and for the foundation for the 22nd century. We need to be thinking ahead. But for nationals of those, thank you. But for nationals of those 12 different countries, their path to immigrate to the U.S. is now indefinitely suspended. And I've had to have conversations with them, and they're like, well, what now? And I'm like, Canada, Europe, I don't know. It's really disheartening for me to try to sell talented people on other countries, but that's kind of the boat I've been put in, because this suspension's indefinite, you know? And it doesn't make us safer. So I'm excited to share that my law firm will be challenging the lawfulness of the travel ban in federal court. We are already working on amending complaints. Thank you. I have a great team, fortunately. I couldn't do this all on my own. We are already working on amending complaints in multiple lawsuits with visa applicant plaintiffs from various different visa categories, including the ones I mentioned, family-based, employment-based, students, researchers. I'm hopeful and optimistic about these efforts. I mean, it's an uphill battle. Everybody knows Trump v. Hawaii. The Muslim ban survived judicial scrutiny, but this is a different ban. No waiver. This ban has some problems. So I'm going to leave today with just one thought. Diversity is our strength. Thank you. When we are inclusive of people, of diverse backgrounds and identities in our circles and in our communities, and we not only give them a voice, but we help amplify their voices, we can understand each other better. And understanding each other better, in my view, leads to a more peaceful world for everybody. When we take back control of Congress, and which we will do, and the White House, which we will do, I hope we can remember that diversity really is our strength. And no more kings. Thanks.